my name's Alexander Grandy, and my uncle John is the chairman of the Royal Humane Society, and I'm delighted to read the case from 1935 as one of the 250 being read to celebrate the Society's anniversary. To put in context, in 1935 we saw the establishment of legendary filmmaker 20th Century Fox, the beginning of the Second Abyssinia War, which included events such as the exile in England of the Emperor Haile Selassie and the conquest of Abyssinia by Benito Mussolini. So here it is. At about 5:30 p.m. on the 13th of January 1935, Captain and Mrs. Horsley and two friends got into difficulties whilst bathing in the rough sea and strong winds in Canero, Malabar, South India, and being visitors were unaware of the strong undercurrents prevailing under these conditions. Mrs. Horsley, on finding herself being swept seaward, called to her husband for assistance, but he was unable to tow her back owing to the adverse current. Mr. Aitken, grasping the situation, stayed with Mrs. Horsley and encouraged her to float whilst her husband and other friend were washed ashore on the rocks in a semi-conscious condition. An officer on the cliff top, seeing the four persons in difficulty, procured a rope, but it was too short to reach them from the beach. Lieutenant Bonzile volunteered to swim out to their aid, but owing to the conditions being such that he would probably have sacrificed his own life. He was forbidden to do so by a senior officer present. The two persons were now observed being swept inshore round the promontory into the next bay, and Lieutenant Bonzile took the rope, scaled the jagged cliff to the promontory, finally reaching the high isolated rock at the extremity. Seeing that the two persons were again being swept seaward, he tied the rope around his waist, left the other end to be tended by some men who had just arrived, dived in, swam out 40 to 50 yards, tied the rope around Mrs. Horsley, who was then pulled back to the rock, whilst he himself assisted Mr. Aitken to swim. Great difficulty was experienced in hauling the three persons up the 15-foot high rock, and Lieutenant Bonzile had remained clinging to the jagged rock under these dangerous conditions until the others reached safety, when he too was hauled up, completely exhausted. For his bravery, Lieutenant Bonzile was awarded the Society's Silver Medal, and I hope you enjoyed this brave rescue by Lieutenant Bonzile. The Society is registered as a registered charity and heavily depends on donations. You can either join as a friend for £25 per annum or for £100 per annum becoming a governor, which means you receive an annual report and can come to the AGM and meet trustees and brave awardees. Or if you prefer, please make a donation via the website, all of which will help the Royal Humane Society in its 250th year to continue recognising bravery and saving lives. Thank you for allowing me to share Lieutenant Bonzile's bravery with you, and thank you for your support.